Lara, welcome back. It's such an immense pleasure to have you with us.
Oh, this is such a pleasure to be with you always, Andrea. Thank you so much.
First, a big congratulations on your amazing new book, which I absolutely love. And it's just so inspirational to see all the beautiful personal stories that you have shared. Thank you for this beautiful contribution to our world.
Thank you so much. It's like, I think that it was something from the heart that I was living from some years. It's lots of self reflection and this need to be in this self awareness space. And it really helped me to be a better person and to live a life that I was like happy, living with joy. There was a moment that I thought that I had to share. So this is more my experience. So I hope that works for some people because it's sharing what worked for me, right?
Yes. And I love that you've actually touched on this point, Lara, because being happy was actually one of your purpose in your earlier years,
Yes.
from what I've understood in your book. I real
Yes.
purpose can evolve, can change
Mm,
as we
mm,
change, as we grow, as we acquire new wisdom and new experiences. It's not static throughout our lifetime. And once we find that it serves as a compass for many decisions that we make, but it can also be evolving and changing. So I really would like us to dive deep into how we can help our listeners find their purpose as a
mm.
result of all the wisdom that you have shared. But before we actually dive into that, I was wondering if, based on all the experiences that you have shared in your book, could you identify two moments that fundamentally have shaped the person and the leader that you are today? And I invite you to maybe share two key stories with us. One that you felt at the time was very challenging, and one that was a beautiful memory. So, really, just seeing the spectrum
Mm.
of emotions and experiences and how those two unique stories have truly reshaped how you see yourself and the world.
Okay, so I will share two stories that were two moments that defined a lot myself. And one story is in the book when I was leaving Brazil to be an expat, and then my mother was had a aorta disruption, or I don't know
Yes.
how it's. So it was like the doctors gave like 6 months to her, and I decided to stay instead of leaving. And my mother very wisely told, so that means that I will have to wish to die faster so you can live your life. And I was telling, no, my God, I just don't want, if you have 6 months, I want to be with you. But she was telling, if you go, I will have a reason to leave. And then I can visit you in the places that you were. And this was 99. And it was like something that it was very complicated because it was, how can I be with somebody that I love? How can I express to somebody that I love them and still live my life and do what I have to do? And at that moment, I understood that love is something transcendental. It's not about not doing something, but it's about doing something for the person. And it's like at that moment, my mother, the sacrifice that she made is that if I have 6 months, I want my daughter to be with me. No, go and I will have why I reason to live. And she lived until 2006. I mean, Portugal and many places. So this was something that I learned first from her to have this freedom of wishing well for the people and thinking not you selfishly, but looking at the system as a whole. So if the person will be happy, I will be happy. My happiness depends on people being happy, not of physical proximity or whatever. It's more. So this was one thing that helped me to think much bigger. And it was a moment that it was good. It was nice. It was a story that enlightens me. And I think that the other moment was probably a moment. There are two moments more. They're about work and deciding to stay in the work. But I think that I will go for this more private story, the other one that is when my last in vitro didn't work. I was CEO, I was a professional, and the medical doctor at that time was telling Lara, even if you plan, life and maternity is not the same as your work that you can plan. You cannot plan. So it's yours. And And you cannot be pregnant because you plan and you think that is the right moment. No. And when it was my last egg, and I didn't get pregnant from my last egg, so I didn't have any hope of being pregnant naturally, unless it would be an egg donation or something like this. I was like very frustrated, and it was like I think that it was probably the biggest pain after the pain of my mother passing. But that moment, what I understood, it's exactly as my mother has told. So if you want something, you just have to put this to the universe and think that what is right for you, it will be provided. At that moment, my children were already ready for me. So it was I think that 2010, and 3 years after I met my children. And I was mother in a way, in an intensity, in a depth of love that I couldn't even imagine that it existed. And I thank God right now that I didn't get pregnant, because otherwise my kids would not be my kids and they are mine. So I think that these are the two examples of moments that are happiness and moments that I suffered a lot. But by the end, I understood that everything that happens in our lives are what we need. And if inside yourself there is a reason for you to live, this will be fulfilled. So for me, this is so important.
Wow, how beautiful. I was very touched by your story when you're highlighting the struggles you went through. And I was wondering, when you go from not being parents to all of a sudden having three kids, all under 10 years old at the time when you adopted them, how did life change from one day to the next? And how did motherhood and parenthood shape how you see life?
Well, when I look back now, it's like it was like a lot. But I think that when we live for a purpose, so my work I was doing for a purpose. I was super intentional in my life, Andrea, and so self-aware. And I knew that I had to be a mother, and the changes were immense, but I cannot even describe how big, how huge the transformation of my life was by one day receiving the information from the judge telling you can bring them home. And then they were already my children. I had in my heart, these I just wanted to have them at home with me. But it was like one day that I received information from the lawyer, and then they came home. And one day to another, I was mother of the three of them, and they were like so wise also. They were, at that time, they were 9, 7, and 6. And they helped me to be mother. I remember that the first day that they were going to school or something like this, I didn't know what we had to do. And I remember Kinyo telling me, Mom, we have to do the lunch, we have to do this, we have to do. And then they were helping me. And I thought, we are a team, and I will learn to be a mother. Your father will learn to be a father. You will learn to be our children, and we will learn together. But I think that it helped me to put everything into perspective, because at that time I was the CEO of Roche in Venezuela. I was also I think that at the time I was the chair of the German Venezuela Chamber of Commerce. I was vice president of the board of the Swiss Venezuelan chair of Chamber of Commerce, and also the VP from in the board of the Venezuelan Pharmaceutical Companies Association. And so it was so many things going on in my work, and we were in a crisis in Venezuela. And then I think that something that my mother used to tell came to me is like, when you have something that you're not being able to solve, take another thing to solve, because then these will be smaller and then you can organize more. And if you need help from somebody, ask help from somebody that has lots to do, because they will find a way to help you. And I think this was something that I learned. It was like, I had to learn to be a mother. I had to learn to balance this part of being a mother and being the leader that I was. But it was so amazing, Andrea, because leadership and motherhood is exactly the same.
Yes.
by the end, to be a leader is to help people flourish. Because when they flourish, working in your company, looking for a purpose and using their companies, their jobs as a tool for their purpose, they flourish with it. So if you help your team, your organization to live their purpose through the work, they flourish, and you give an environment that they can flourish, because then they can be in a higher consciousness level. So they have an increased cognitive maturity. So the more you elevate the consciousness of your team, more mature they are to make decisions. And this is exactly as being a mother. You have to help them, to give the environment and the tools for them to be able to make right decisions and to live in a consciousness level that these decisions will come automatically. So for your question, how motherhood helped in the work, it was immense, because it helped me to see a perspective of how to flourish human beings that I need. They didn't have anybody but me. I am the mother. My husband was the father, and we had to think, both of us, how we will behave, what language we will use, what environment are we creating so they can flourish. And then it was suddenly it was, this is what we have to do as leaders. So it was like so much aligned, and being a mother helped me to be a better leader. Being a leader helped me to be a better mother. So it's about humanity. So this is how this came together.
Out of curiosity, your three children have the same biological parents or not?
Yes, they are. They were. Indeed, we tried to adopt before, and then we couldn't. So in Brazil, and it was just these things of life that when I changed companies from Bayer to Roche. So I was in Roche I started in May 2013 in Roche, India, in Russia, Venezuela. And in August, I met the children, because one person from the organization, when we were having the town hall, they asked me if I have children or not. We told, no, we don't have children and we don't want. And she came to me to ask me, Lara, but you look like being a good mother. So I want to take you to a place that is an institution. So you talk to people there. And I didn't want, but then my husband told, let's go. And then, to make a very long story short, there we met the children. And when we started talking, we thought we might be open for one child. But then when they told there is a group of siblings that we would like to introduce to you. And when we met them, it was like, I don't know how to explain. It was not like magic or whatever, but it was so clear that we were a family. So since the day that we met them, so today, for example, for me, they are my children. I just comment that they are adopted, because the timelines don't match. When we tell that my husband and we are married for 18 years, but our oldest has 21. Oh, he is from no. We have to explain. But for us, it's like they come from me. And I think that for them is like, we were always their parents. So for us, there is no differentiation. This is so strong.
So incredibly beautiful. You spoke several times about the importance of self-awareness, and it's really embedded within your model for coherence. Can you share with our audience why knowing ourselves is so important? And what is one question that people can embrace on a regular basis to ensure that they don't have any blind spots when it comes to self-awareness?
Oh, I love this question, Andrea. Okay, let me reflect. So why self-awareness is so important? Because you as a human being, you as a leader, you as a parent, you will never have a neutral impact. Either you have a positive or you have a negative impact. Never. And if you're not self-aware, you might have impact that is negative on people or your surroundings, and this will come back to you. So if you want to become a person that is a person that leaves a legacy, that brings peace, you want to have peace, you have to be so self-aware of the language that you use, to understand that the language that you use, even and mainly in moments of crisis, of unplanned events, of emotional turbulence, because Everybody has the right to feel sad, to feel anger if a situation is negative. But it's your choice how you will react and how you will process this experience, and your next action word will define everything around you. And if you're not super self-aware, and I mean self-aware by intentionality, do you know what you want? Do you know the consequences of your speech, of what you are doing and what you're talking? So one question that everybody can have is, do I know the consequence of what I just said and what I just did in people around me? Because if you know, if you at least if you are intentional, so you are talking to somebody and you understand what is that you want to bring to this person. I want to bring peace and environment where this person can be themselves with me. And I want to be this safe haven where people can be themselves. So if you don't have self-awareness, whoever you will become is somebody that you don't know and maybe you didn't wish for. So you will live a passive life where who you become is not who intended or who you wanted. So self-awareness is absurdly important for you to live in the life that you wish, the future you want to build, and to be surrounded by people who you want. Because your actions, your language, your attitude will bring people with the same energy, the same way that you are. And then it will reinforce who you are. So are you choosing correctly? Are you thinking correctly? Are you intentional in your life?
Beautiful. There's also a term that I've often read about, which is connected to purpose anxiety. And it's really the individuals that feel the pressure to find their grand purpose in life, which can often lead to overthinking, self doubt, and even in some cases, existential dread. What would you say to someone who feels totally lost and pressured to figure out their purpose? How can they quiet the noise and reconnect to themselves and begin finding small but meaningful steps and purpose and clarity in everyday life?
Yes, this is beautiful because there was a period, I think probably 5, 6 years ago, I think there was this movie that it was about purpose, and it was an animated movie. I don't remember exactly, but it was like I remember this scene of this person looking for the purpose and desperate and like, and I think that if you think that about purpose and it creates anxiety, it creates heaviness, you are not in the right path. You have to breathe and just connect back. And sometimes what I tell is that look at some moments that trigger you. Because there is the beautiful romantic way to find purpose, that is to find what drives you and you go in the flow and you know that you just lose the sense of time. But also, for example, I talk a lot with executives when they tell that they are not comfortable with a boss, with a colleague, that they are having trouble in the work. I said, okay, let's see and observe the situations and what is that triggers you. And sometimes what is triggering is because somebody is doing something that is invading a space of the person that is a very sacred space, something that is very important. Either there is a person, there is a boss that disrespect women, and this is a man and sees this and doesn't like, or this person talks with too much anger, or so there is something that triggers you. Then you can see that there is a value and a purpose inside you that it's very important for you, and this is kind of desecrating this space. When you look at it, you will see that this is probably your purpose. There is a purpose, there is a reason, there is something very important, very valuable for you in life. And how you put this in words, what is very valuable. And as you told, the purpose will be evolving with life. And sometimes there are people that they have very clear purpose, but then they evolve with life, and then they feel that the purpose that they had, they continue pursuing something, but it evolved and it's not anymore, and then the person feels lost. That's why the self-awareness is important, because when you feel in this point, you stop, you go back and reflect again. I talk in my book about lifelong learning. Is like your intention, you have to review the systems that you are in, because the way that you are getting older, systems are coming and going from your life. When children came to my life, everything changed and my purpose changed. So when you read this purpose, for me, it was a purpose that I had before leaving the corporation. The last 6 years, my purpose evolved to help humanity to increase consciousness. So, and this is like, I was in a struggle. And then I saw that there is something that changed inside myself, and I had to reflect. And it took me 2 or 3 years to realize that my new purpose was about consciousness, because I wanted to be. And normally your purpose is something that you want to be, you want to evolve as human being. And by helping others to do this, you will grow. So it's a self-altruist purpose.
Since you've already touched upon two of the pillars already, maybe we can dive in the four pillars of coherence. You've spoken a little bit about intentionality, a little bit about lifelong learning, but let's go towards the first one, integrality. And you share in your book how it's really linked to showing up as the same person in all parts of your life, and also integrating the past, the present, and the future. So tell us more about the first pillar, integrality. What is that about? How can people that are looking to develop their purpose bring that into their lives starting today?
Andrea, I love so much how deep you know about my book. I really appreciate it because exactly, integrality is exactly about it. It's about being the same person in all systems of your life and integrating your past and future, no? And a person who is looking for the purpose, if you just look for one system of your life, just your job or just your family, and you don't look as a whole. Many times I ask people, what is your purpose? And then they tell their objectives that they have in their life, in their private life or in the professional life. But if you step back and you look that you have to be present with your friends, with your community, with your work. And if your purpose is about work, you will deprioritize everything that is around. Then you will unbalance your life and you cannot be coherent in all of the places. So the integrality is understanding what are all the systems that are part of my life. And it's not about what I want, but it's exactly what are the environments that you are today present. If you're used to go to a bar, this is a system of your life, and this system you have to observe, because maybe you are one person where you are when you are in this bar. Yeah. And then when you are doing sports, you are another person. Then when you are at work, when you are with your partner, so you have to see why. Because it's very important that if you are one person in the bar, but the person that you want to be when you are in the sport, when you are with your partner, when you are at the work is a different person, you will have to review it. And then also, let's say that you decide not to have this system of the bar anymore. But you don't forget and you don't reject it. How you tell a story about the existence of this system in your life in a way that it serves to your purpose. Because how you tell stories about your past, about the environments that you were part of, or the people who were part of your life, and also look into the future. So what I aim for, what I wish for, what I look for. So the integrality of your life is so important. And then it comes all of this observation and understand that they change. And you have always to come back to review the integrality of your life, because who you will become depends on all the environment and the emotions and people that are around you. And this even has a name that is like the exposome and sociogenome, how epigenetically you transform yourself as body and biology according to the environments, meaning even the pollution or whatever, but also the places that you are going to, and the people and emotions that are created around you because of these people, these emotions that you get part of.
It's so interesting because one of the items you also covered in your book in the chapter linked to integrality was focusing on not making decisions out of fear. Help us better understand how we can avoid that trap.
Oh, I love it. So I think that this is when I start to make the connection with the intentionality. Yeah, because when you make a decision out of fear, even if you have an intention that is positive, that is good, the fear will make you be looking for the things that you don't want, that you want to avoid. So the perspective of life that you will have is like of a hostile universe. It's like you're living in a hostile universe because you are afraid. And if you look neurologically, your amygdala is bigger. And because your amygdalas are bigger, the filter that you will have from the world is like fight or flight. It's like you will avoid things. So it's like you will be no to war, no to inequality, no to gender difference. You are no to many things. But what happens when you are no to many things? You don't know what you want. So you will end up probably no to war. You will probably not having war, but are you going to have peace? Because what you want is peace. So it's very important. I talk a lot about having constructive intentions and constructive motivations also, because the destructive intention is no to war. The constructive intention is yes to peace. If you know this intention here is important, but then the motivation also, okay, you are telling yes to peace, but do you have anger? Because you cannot have peace with anger. You cannot decide things with fear. And normally the anger comes when you are afraid. So what I tell a lot is that fear you will have. The question is, are you choosing fear to be the motivator of your actions? Or you decide, yes, I am afraid, but what I want to have as a motivation is compassion and kindness, love and kindness. And all human beings, without exception, when they choose to live in compassion, that is, I want to take suffer out of people and all of the beings, and I want everybody to be in happiness, in joy. And for this, you have to have this love and kindness. It's to be kind with yourself, with the situation, be patient, and bring clarity step by step to make decisions. And sometimes to not make a decision at the moment and wait is the most important decision that one person can have, to wait for the fear to decrease so it's not guiding you, and have the fear as a partner to have your mitigation plan, but have the compassion, love, and kindness as your guide. This can bring you clarity. But makes sense, Andrea?
Absolutely. So that's pillar number one, integrality. Pillar number two is intentionality. And one of the core elements you reference, and it goes back also to the constructive intentions and the positivity and so on. You highlight the importance of revisiting our beliefs and gaining that clarity on what do I really want. Can you go deeper into the importance of having these empowering beliefs to guide us on the path that would lead to greater life fulfillment?
Yes, I think that, and you got something that very few people get from the book, Andrea. And I asked because the beliefs are something that is so important in the intentionality. You have to have intentionality in your belief also. Because sometimes we have a constant dialogue, internal dialogue with ourselves. And in these dialogues, we are creating beliefs. Oh, I am not good in math. If you tell that you're not good in math, you will not be good in math. If you tell, I have difficulty in math, so this is a very nice challenge, I will be good at math. And then you will be good at math. My mother used to tell that everything that you don't like is because you are not used to it. Whatever you get, you master, you will love, because there is not one thing in the world that you master that you don't like. Human beings love to master something. So the difficulty can be the biggest friend for you to really evolve. But for this, you can only do if your beliefs are, I love difficulties. Because if you tell difficulties are obstacles, they will be obstacles and you will not grow. So the phrase you have in your mind, if you have discomfort, and I ask many times, I ask when my people or the who I'm mentoring or my family, my husband, my children, when they are in the moment, I tell, what are you feeling? They cannot describe the feeling. I tell, what is the phrase in your head? And everybody can tell what is the phrase in your head. And when they are very angry, normally the phrase in your head is a belief. You are creating a belief. So I tell, okay, this is the phrase you have in your head. What is the phrase that you want to have? What do you want? Oh, I want this. Okay, you want this? Repeat again. You are creating a belief. And I think that is so important for you to understand what is the phrase that you have and what are the beliefs that you have. So what you say that you can and what you say that you can't, because this will be exactly who you are or not.
I know you have also extensively pursued the path to dive deeper into the wisdom of spirituality, religion, yoga, beyond your phenomenal experiences in so many different countries. One question that I had for you that relates to the clarity that comes with stating I want, right? And in spiritual traditions, often saying I want can reinforce a state of lack. And
Mm.
so there's this tension between I want or I am, which some wisdom states that is more powerful. So, how do we hold a desire for something without psychologically rehearsing the absence or its absence? And what language do you think we need to repeat to ourselves to make sure we're on the right path?
I love your questions, Andrea, so much. And I think that this is the exact right question. There is the I want this marriage, I want this house, I want this new phone, I want to be a CEO. There are all of these I wants that are material. The I want that I am asking is the deeper want. So, for example, when I tell what I want, I come back to my purpose. I want to elevate consciousness. So this is what I want. What I want really is my purpose. So that's why I tell the importance for you to have your purpose, because if your purpose is framing your life, the answer always to what I want. By the end, I want to be a better human being when I go from this life in comparison to the human being that I came to this life. For me to do this, so there is a meaning of this life, something that I know that I need to become as a human being spiritually, that I am always pursuing. And it's not about the I am, because I am is gone. Who I am now is already different from who I was 30 seconds ago, because we are getting older each time and we are becoming a new human being. So the I am is who I want to live, who I want to be when I live this life. Is who I want to be becoming each second, because it's not about who I am, because it's stagnation, it's ego. But what I want is something that is so much bigger, Andrea. It's like what I want to become as a human being, how I want to be remembered when I go. And then this comes so much deeper. And this is the want that I would like people to reflect on is what I want as a legacy in my life. This moment when I leave this conversation, what I would like people to remember, people to feel, and how I want to feel about this moment that I just left. This is the want that I would like people to reflect on. Is a deeper, and at the same time, a bigger, a much, much, much bigger want.
I understand what you're saying. As you've shared, the I am has passed.
Yes.
It was there a second ago and it closes the door on the future we can still build. And the deeper I am, as you're calling it, is all about embracing this continuous journey and evolution, and also accepting some of the spiritual concepts of impermanence, right?
Absolutely.
If we embrace that everything in life is impermanent, even our state of being, it's really the
Yes.
deeper I am, it's about who I am becoming.
Exactly. And if you see in my book, when I talk about the integrality of life, I put an infinite sign, and there is a person with a mirror in the mid, like the connection, exactly that little connection of the infinite that connects the past, future, and the past future, because the past future are here, but the past future are here also. But who you are becoming, you look at the mirror, you can choose. It's the only thing that you can choose is exactly how you behave, the words you tell, the energy you bring at this moment that will open different channels for the future, the world that you jumping in and you are bringing everybody together with you. And the better we do it with more joy. And it's not to be happy the whole time. It's even in a very difficult moment that everybody's suffering, something very, very bad happened. What is that your attitude of let's bring everybody to this space where we can do together and we can go further, having this as a lesson, or we are going to get stuck here and suffer together.
At the end, it's about acceptance, right? It's about embracing the past, the present, and accepting that we cannot change the past, accepting that we have a choice in how we move forward, from the language that we choose, from the integration, as you said, of intentions that bring both our heart and our mind. And I often even share with my kids that yes, sometimes life does not necessarily go how we want it to be, and we have unexpected surprises that are outside of our control. But the quicker we get to the acceptance stage, the faster we can actually choose more profoundly how we want to shape and influence futures. So I find that so beautiful.
Yeah, and Andrea, what is nice is because I tell exactly this and I go a little, but just a little further that I tell, if you have gratitude for what is happening,
Yes.
because even if it is the worst thing, and there is a phrase that I use a lot with my daughter, Sarah, that we talked a lot because I told she's super perfectionist and she plans and she always wanted things to go the way that she plans because she wants to be perfect. And then I was telling that even when something doesn't go as we plan, it is going the way the universe is planning for us because we want so much this something behind this thing that the universe will give you something that might be not what you want. But if it's not going as you plan, very fast, thank you. Be grateful for this and look what the universe is giving you because there is the plan is much better. Their plan of the universe, God, or whatever you call it, is much better than what you plan because they see more. So when somebody asked her, what is the biggest lesson that you have from your mother, etc., it was so beautiful. I was so happy because she was telling one thing that my mother taught me that I use a lot and I think a lot is that even if something goes not as we plan, as we don't want, it is exactly better than we thought. So you have just to pay attention because then you can leave what is coming faster, you know?
Yes, and actually, it's all about realizing that even when something today, let's just say, happens and you think it is horrible, the reality is that if you come back to that same situation and you reflect on it, maybe a month later, a couple of weeks later, you realize actually that there's often a lot of positive things that have emerged, and maybe one door has closed, but maybe so many others have opened as a result of that. You share that in the book when you made the transition from leaving Venezuela to basically starting your own business that implements all the practices that you shared in the book and that you basically implemented with so many wonderful individuals in the 7 countries you worked with. And that shift in your life was bringing even a wider, better adventure ahead.
Yes, yes. And it's like because life doesn't stop surprising you. And I think that when you have something very strong in your mind that you want to live, the universe gives you to prove. And it was like, for me, it's like I was having this path of being CEO and doing so nice. And then proving that we can do better. It's that suddenly it's like, now you are not here anymore. And, but then it's like, you have something much bigger to do. So are you ready for it? Because you are asking for it somehow. And then when you look at it, you say, this is so much bigger. And then it scares you. But at the same time, you tell, okay, I asked for it. So embrace it and do it. And it is so amazing because these transitions, Andrea, they are not easy. And I don't tell that for me it was easy. It was very complicated, super complicated. I look back, but what I learned is that even the longer that it lasts, it will pass. And the faster you can visualize how this page or this chapter of your book of life will be, you want to be written in 10 years, when you look how you want this to be seen, you suffer less because you tell, this will pass. What I can take advantage right now, because I am not in a corporation anymore. I can write whatever I want in my social media. I can write a book. I can talk about myself because I will not be disrespecting the platform that I am representing. So I am not a CEO of a company. I am a CEO of my life. So how can I do this in the way that I really want? How can now I build my legacy? So it's like so beautiful because when you start to see it, it's different. My mother used to have a phrase because when I used to cry for something, she used to tell, if you cry because the sun is setting, your tears will not allow you to see the star. And when you see the star and they go and you cry because the star is going, then you will not be able to see the sun. So your life will be crying and just having a little time to enjoy. But if each time that the sun sets, you enjoy and you thank and you get in, you breathe in the beauty of the sunset, you will be there seeing the stars come and you will enjoy the stars coming. And then you will see the sun rising. So your life will be much better. And it's like this phrase of Einstein, no? The most important decision of human beings is whether you believe that you live in a hostile or friendly universe. It changes completely.
Indeed. Really love all the stories you have shared in the book about key conversations from your mother, particularly, and also your father, which I believe, going back to the story you asked earlier, he's the one who asked you, you want to become pregnant or do you want to become a mother, right? So,
Yes, yes.
very,
My
very
father, it was like,
profound questions.
yes. No, I have to tell, I am super lucky. So maybe I was very good in other lives and I was put in a family that is amazing. But I also tell that is how I see it because it was not perfect. They were divorced. There are many things. But what I learned from it, who I became is because of them. And all of the things that they brought to me and the way that I got the lessons and probably the way that they inspire me to be and I inspire them to be. It was how I could be today here and be happy the way that I am, fulfilled and realized.
Wonderful. You're among the lucky ones. So that's
Yes.
wonderful. There's the third pillar that is coherence, and then the fourth, which is lifelong learning. What would you like to share with our audience about these last two pillars that you believe is important for them on the path of articulating and living their purpose?
Yeah, I think that the coherence basically is for you to each time understand the integrality of your life and live your intentions, your intentionality in the whole integrality of your life. And then to have this observation to understand that even if you live your intentionality in the whole integrality of your life, to be super self-aware to understand how your emotions, your motivations will might have an impact in changing how you perceive, how you live this intention in the integrality of your life. So the coherence is to really know what you want and be self-aware to understand how to become this, how to bring this intentionality in the integrality of your life. And the coherence comes of helping you to have the right thoughts and beliefs. So your language will come accordingly, your actions, your behavior in all parts of your life. And then the lifelong learning is to understand that to be in this coherence is not about being in it. It's not about coming to a state that you are coherent. It's about living coherence. It's being coherent in your life. It's deciding for a style where whenever my systems change, whenever, whatever happens in my life, I will always come back to observe this integrality, bring intentionality to my life, and understand the emotions that are driving me. So the consequences that the output of what I am doing will be exactly as the outcome I want to have. So the lifelong learning is to be grateful that each time that something doesn't go right, it's a lesson and you just can be better and evolve more and be evolving or evolve your purpose with the evolution of your life. So I think that this is what integrates the four pillars, the lifelong learning and being coherent is to live the integrality in the whole, the intentionality in the whole integrality of your life and coming back and back and back to this.
I love it. So, so beautiful. So, what are some of the daily practices that you would recommend our listeners engage with in order to stay grounded, stay focused, and make sure that despite the highs and the lows of life, that they keep, looking forward to see the sunrise despite, the stars going
Um,
away as you were highlighting.
so
What would you
yeah,
recommend?
it is nice because I think that many people try to find a routine and routine is what kills you because the routine is changing. Yeah. So I looked for routine for many times and then I travel and then change. But then I change it. I look for a discipline. So I want to have discipline. No
Mhm.
matter where I am, I want to have one physical practice, one spiritual practice and one mental practice. So I try to meditate, I try to have an exercise, and I try to have some gratitude attitude during the day. So it's like to have a discipline to always be grateful and try always to see, am I seeing the universe hostile or am I seeing the universe as friendly? So this question I am always asking myself, and I have this discipline, that is this mental discipline to have this. And I try to meditate, even if it's 5 minutes. If I don't have time the day, I will not even if it's 5 minutes. I don't need to meditate 1 hour every day, 2 hours every day. But I have to have this intentionality that I have the discipline that this I do this being in this gratitude and this friendly universe. And I always try to do an exercise that is the body to make my body fit. So it's like if I'm traveling, I try to run. When I am here, I try to do yoga every day. So and always to try to feel like I want to be light. I want to be light. So if I am heavy, I tell, okay, where is the heaviness? And let's bring light. So it's this consciousness, this awareness. So this is the discipline that I try to live with. And this is like thinking in these three. So how can I bring this discipline to body, mind, and soul? No?
I love that. What do you see the link between joy and living a coherent life?
I think that these are like, I don't know which comes first, but if you have joy, you are coherent. When you achieve coherence, you can identify because there is a joy inside, you know? So I think that they are like, they are completely together. They're completely together because when you feel this joy, you can know it's impossible that you are not coherent because this joy is like, it's like you feel that there is a flow. You feel okay with yourself. You feel that I am being the same. It's not that I am happy and everything is perfect in my life, but there is this joy and this is coherence. I feel that joy and coherence, they show together and they can prove that each other are there, you know?
Lara, if you could give our listeners a challenge to pursue this week based on everything we have spoken until now, what would that challenge be?
This is very nice. So the challenge would be you are engineers of the neuroplasticity of your environment. Can you bring positive neuroplasticity in all interactions that you have next week? So, in other words, can you intentionally speak and act in a way that you know that you are having positive impact on people and not negative? So this is the challenge. Can you be in this state of self-awareness that you know that you are engineer of the neuroplasticity of the people around you? And can you bring positive neuroplasticity to the environment and people that you will interact with? This is my challenge.
Okay, love that, Lara. Lara, thank you immensely for the beautiful and heartwarming work that you do every single day that changes people's lives. And very grateful to have had this chance to speak with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. I always love to talk to you, and I am here to really help these 1 million years of joy.
Love that. Thank you, Lara.